You're
like $1 million, the next mark in the spot where it lays, and I'm a pillager all over the place, and you gotta win. He goes ahead and just blows you away, and if you don't understand the change, this is committed to excellence, the pride and the poison, a pirate's way. Ladies and gentlemen, the Raider way. And if you don't understand which side that I'm on your best place.
Hey everybody, welcome to the long overdue episode 2 of the Raider Way podcast. My name is Dustin, and before we get into breaking down the Baltimore Ravens game this past Sunday, we need to address week 1. The offense did not have a great showing last week. The offensive line was just weak and didn't really hold together the way that they needed to for Gardner Minshew. So I found 2 clips that actually sum up the way that the offense played and the way the defense played. So for your entertainment, I'm going to insert these now. First we have the offense. And now we have the defense.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Now that we've addressed week 1 in terms of the offense not living up to the same hype as the defense, we need to talk really quickly about Ja'Cory Bennett and Jack Jones, who last week against Baltimore led up the league's highest incompletion percentage. Having 2 corners that both play for the Raiders that are allowing very few passes to be completed just means that we've got a couple things going on here. We have some solid cornerback play for once, and we also have a defensive line that is really getting after the quarterback, not giving them much time to work in the pocket. So between those 2 guys and the defensive line getting home, the defense really showed out against the Ravens. They were able to limit Derrick Henry to very few rushing yards. He did break off a few long runs, but every defense is going to give up a run or 2 here and there. On top of really solid cornerback play, Max Crosby was just playing like a man possessed on Sunday. 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and even had a pass defensed. This all led to him being named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, which I don't think was really too surprising. Max has always held himself to a really high standard and will continue to hold himself to that standard along with his teammates. So being a leader on this defense, that is pretty much what you can expect to get from our defense week in and week out. Max is going to hold these guys accountable, and if you're not holding up your end, he's going to let you hear about it. I mean, it's only week 2, and he's already putting together statement games and winning AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So, I mean, is it really too far out of the question to think that Max could potentially be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year, the same as last year? He didn't get his first place votes that he should have gotten last season, which I think was pretty ridiculous considering the level at which he played all season. So I think what we could see here is Max is going to take everything really personal. I think he took the Control-Alt-Delete things very personal this past week and really just took it out on the Ravens. Some of the hits that he delivered were just absolutely ferocious. There was a tackle for loss against Derrick Henry that on the television broadcast you could hear the impact, and Max was obviously very hyped about that. So I think with him continuing to play at a level that he's been playing at for the past couple of years, we could definitely see him make a run at that Defensive Player of the Year, even though it is only week 2. Another guy that you're going to hear a lot about on this defense is going to be Robert Spillane. He did have a pick last game. He also had a couple tackles for loss. He was a guy that was not afraid to meet Derrick Henry in the gaps on the defensive line, was not afraid to come up and make that hit. So I think having a guy like Spillane, who actually reminds me a lot of a Phil Villapiano style linebacker, just that blue collar, lunch pail, like AP said, hard hat mentality. He's going to come up and make those plays for you. And having him in the center of this defense is definitely something that we can't do without. Now, on the flip side of that, you have an offense that struggled very heavily in the first half of the game. Very first play of the game, led up a sack, came right off of Colton Miller's shoulder and just blasted Minshew on his blind side, dropped the ball. Miller luckily recovered the ball, but you just can't have things like that happen against a Baltimore defense that is extremely talented for one, but that ball security, and you cannot afford to almost lose the ball on the first snap of the game. A lot of the times the offensive line just kind of looked out of sync, and they were kind of getting in each other's way more often than not. And in the second half, they really kind of pulled themselves together and started showing you what this offensive line could be once they're completely gelled together. Colton Miller did miss the first, big part of OTAs and training camp. So he's really only in week 3. And so he's really starting to get to know, how these guys work on the offensive line. Another boost that we could potentially see here in week 3 is the addition of Jackson Powers Johnson, somebody that is a highly anticipated rookie coming out of Oregon. Everybody's very excited to see him start, or maybe not start, but they're looking to see him get on the field and really show what he can do. By all accounts, he's a nasty, gritty, Madden-style offensive lineman, and I frankly couldn't be more excited about it. But getting back to the way that they performed in Baltimore, where you really started to see them come together was about halfway through the third quarter. They seemed to get the message and really started giving Minshew some more time to work it back in the pocket. And actually on 5 consecutive snaps going down the field, they gave him an immaculate pocket, which allowed him to deliver the ball to Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams and really set themselves up to score and eventually win the game. Speaking of Bowers, he went a perfect 9 for 9 for 98 yards. Looking every bit of the first round pick that he was. Bowers was absolutely crucial in a couple of these drives where they needed to get chunk plays, and there was one play where he caught the ball at about the 5-yard line and started making his way for the end zone, got hung up, spun around, got hung up again, spun around, and eventually ended up on the 1-yard line. That kind of tenacity that you're going to see from a guy like Bowers is everything that we need in this offense. And until further notice, it kind of looks like the offense runs through him and Devontae. We all know that Devontae needs the ball in his hands. He's a star wide receiver, in this league for a reason. Anytime you can get Devontae the ball, you are going to get results. He's a run after catch specialist, and he's always willing to look to get those extra yards. And I think the more that you see Minshew getting comfortable throwing the ball to Devontae, to Bowers, to Jacoby Myers, the more you're going to see these bigger chunk plays, and you'll also see more of these run after catch plays. I know Gardner was a little shook up after he threw his interception earlier in the game, but after Max kind of grabbed him on the sideline and said, hey, we got you, don't worry about it, shake it off, go out there and take care of it. You saw a little bit of a different Minshew out there, more of what you would see when he was playing at Washington State. He was more aggressive. He's tended to stay in the pocket a little bit longer, wait for the play to develop, and was really looking to get the ball down the field. Now, that's not to say that the absence of the run game isn't felt. Obviously, you need to get that run game going with Zamir White to help open up those wide receivers to get those chunk plays like that. I think if they can get the run game going, they have a really good chance to have a very solid offense. And what they're really going to need to focus on this game up against Carolina is getting that offense going. Right now, they're a defense that is a little leaky. They have given up numerous yards to opponents. They're not in the best position right at the moment. The Panthers defense doesn't really have a whole lot of playmakers on it. Right now, it's pretty much headed up by Jadeveon Clowney, Shaq Thompson, and J.C. Horn. But as a total through 2 weeks, that defense has given up 73 points, 47 to New Orleans and 26 to the Chargers. So to say that they've been leaky would kind of be an understatement. And they've allowed 43 first downs, 16 out of 29 third down conversions, and a total of 728 yards. So if there's a time for this offense to really gel and get clicking and kind of tune up and get right, this is the week they need to do it. They're coming into a very favorable stretch over the next 5 weeks. So get right now and keep it right. One thing that the Raiders do need to be cognizant of is that the Panthers have made a quarterback change. And I know they're well aware of this quarterback change. We all were a little shocked to see the number 1 overall pick from last year get benched in favor of a 13-season vet in Andy Dalton. One thing that the Raiders do have is Marvin Lewis, who was Dalton's head coach the whole time he was in Cincinnati. Cincinnati drafted Dalton in 2011, and Lewis was the head coach that was in charge during that draft. So having Lewis on staff is actually going to be incredibly advantageous to the Raiders, even though he hasn't been around Dalton for a long time. Tendencies don't really change that often. Lewis is going to be able to give insight to Patrick Graham and AP on how Dalton likes to run his offenses. Dalton is an accurate passer, so allowing him to set up in the pocket and just kind of pick apart your defense is obviously not going to be advantageous. But having Lewis on staff will definitely help mitigate that, because he does know how Dalton tends to throw the ball or what kind of looks he likes to get. Up until this point, with Bryce Young under center, the Panthers' offense really hasn't been existent. They've only gained 18 first downs. They're 2 for 22 on third down conversions, and a total gain of 352 yards on offense. Again, QB play had a lot to do with this, but expect this Raiders defense to kind of tee off and come out swinging and keep up the momentum that they had ending the last game, and looking to build on that. And in conjunction with that, the Panthers offense isn't necessarily a star-studded group. They do have a wide receiver duo that consists of Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson, and their running back that they have at the moment is Chuba Hubbard. Poor QB play from Young really kept Thielen and Johnson relatively quiet, but I would expect that to change with Dalton under center. He's going to allow those guys to get open, where Young was a little bit afraid to hang on to the ball and let those plays kind of develop, and I think that was due to him being hit so many times last season as a rookie. So his confidence is probably a little shaken. He's not willing to sit in the pocket and kind of let the play develop. So having Dalton under center will definitely allow those guys to get open and have a better look at catching the ball. Finally, to kind of bring everything to a nice clean close, I'm going to give you the Raider Way's 5 keys to victory this week against the Carolina Panthers. Number 1, get the offense going early. Get the run game going with Zamir White, toss the ball to Bowers, Adams, and Myers, and really get comfortable in it. Open up the offense and take advantage of the Carolina defense that's allowing yards and yards and yards and third down conversions and first downs, and just get comfortable playing in this offense, because like I said, you're going into a very favorable stretch over the next few weeks where you can really solidify who you are as an offense and get those guys going the way that they need to be going. Number 2, they need to keep Minshew upright. That's pretty self-explanatory, really. If Gardner's up, he can throw the ball. Give him the time he needs to allow the play to develop. I don't want to see him running for his life, for 4 quarters. Take the momentum that the offensive line had at the end of last game, carry it into this game. Give him that clean pocket so he can rip off the 10, 15, 20-yard throws to Adams or to Bowers, or even the short crossers to Adams where he can take it and run off some extra yards after the catch. Our third point, it goes to the defense. I want to see these guys just stay rowdy. Get to the quarterback early and often. Hit the running back at the line of scrimmage, rip the ball away from the wide receivers. basically just keep doing what they're doing. Spillane's interception last game with the help of Jacorian Bennett hitting the receiver and kind of ripping the ball out of his arms and landing right in Spillane's hands. That's the kind of stuff I want to see from the linebackers and corners. See ball, get ball, as Charles Woodson used to say. Just get the ball, stay rowdy, beat up on the quarterback, and just let them know you're there. As I mentioned before, my number 4 point is going to be feed Bowers and Adams. The offense runs through these two guys, get them the ball, let them do their thing, and you're going to go as far as they'll take you. Like I said, Adams is a run after catch specialist. Bowers, much of the same. He can break tackles. He's elusive. I compare him to a larger Hunter Renfrow that can take the hit, hang onto the ball, and keep moving. And it's not just the hairline. The way that they move in their routes and everything is very similar to me. And I really enjoy watching Bowers run his routes because they're very clean, they're very precise, and he gets in and out of them very quickly, just like a regular wide receiver would. And finally, the defense is going to need to keep pressure on Dalton for all 4 quarters. The inside defensive line, outside edges, linebacker blitz, corner blitz, safety blitz. I don't care how they do it. I just want to see Dalton under pressure all game. Don't let him set up camp in the backfield and just dot you up, because he will. He's extremely accurate, and at any given point, he can hit somebody downfield with precision, and you'll be paying for it for the rest of the game. So to recap the 5 points to victory, we need to get the offense going early. They need to keep Minshew upright. They need to keep being rowdy on defense. They need to feed Bowers and Adams, and they need to pressure Andy Dalton for all 4 quarters. These are really the 5 things that I think are going to be the most beneficial to this team winning this game on Sunday and going into week 4 at 2-1 instead of 1-2. I think this is a very winnable game. The quarterback change does present a little bit of a wrinkle, but Patrick Graham said that they've had more than enough time to prepare and adjust their game plan from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton. So with that being said, I think they're going to be ready, and I think this is going to be a really, really good home opener for these guys, and they're going to show out in front of their home crowd. And with that, I want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you give us a follow on Instagram at @theraiderway_. And if you aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, make sure you do that as well. Link will be in the bio. And remember, there's only one way, the Raider way.